pronunciation of old school is toxic. But like, I'm a little old school like that. And so I would want to give it to you. But the moment you start to help us pay for this, I'm starting to like, all right, so how soon into marrying Brad from The Office? Because it's coming around any day now.
And Scary Show. I don't know what it is.
I got him on every morning.
On Rock 106.9.
8 a.m. this morning, what 25% of Gen Z and millennials have never done, they say. I feel like this is hyperbole, but we're all doing it less than ever. I love not doing this. 8 a.m. A lot of you guys pushing back on an $8,000 engagement ring. We were talking about it because this woman is 28. She says she got married. Her husband bought her an engagement ring, spent about $8,000 on it, finance, as most people would have to finance an $8,000 ring today. I'm basing that off of like 4 times a year that article comes out that most Americans don't have $4,000 in the bank for an emergency. If you don't have $4,000 for an emergency, you don't have $8,000 for a ring, is my thought process there. But they have a joint account now, and he's taking the money back out of it to help pay for the ring from their joint. They both have an account, and there's a joint account. Some of you thought that was tacky, you know. As a matter of fact, a die-hard listener of mine, Tim, initially was like, dude, that's tacky. He asked her to marry him. That ring's on you. But then when he heard it was $8,000, he was like, all right, wait a minute. You know, and, apparently he was able to get a really nice ring for his wife for a lot less money than that. I don't know when they got married, right? Inflation and a lot of that kind of stuff can, weigh into that. But, they say here in this same article, it tells me that people are spending about $30,000 all in on rings. The average cost of a wedding in the United States, no, I'm sorry, that's the wedding itself, is around $30,000. That's a lot. Okay, that makes more sense than the rings. I'm glad I checked that. $30,000 for the party seems like a lot to me. Now if you got a big family, you got a big family. There's little you can do about it. I remember when my brother and his wife, she's from Bedford and my brother's from Twinsburg, but they were living in California, right? And so when they got married, they had their wedding in California. My parents obviously went. My dad performed the wedding. I obviously went. Her mom and dad obviously went. Her dad's turning 80 at the end of the month, and everybody's coming in for it. I cannot wait. Roxanne's family's the best. I enjoy hanging out with them. It's just nothing but drinks and playing cards and gambling like a week straight. Get out way. But they were there. But like my brother and his wife loved that they were in California because they can invite everyone, and they knew only about a third of these people are actually going to show up, right? And so they felt like off the hook because people get really offended if you don't invite them to your wedding, right? As a matter of fact, once upon a time, I got into some trouble at a radio station. It was the Buzzard, and we were doing afternoons and crushing. And the head of sales there at the time, who now has a more serious job in that building now than he had then, was having his wedding. It was going to be at Progressive Field. He was the head of sales. We used to call him Label Out, because we were doing a live broadcast once, and we had our beers in front of us on the table, and he from the back of the room, Label Out, so the photos would look good. So we called him Label Out on the air for the rest of our time there. Maybe that's why we don't work there anymore. Anyway, and so he threw this big elaborate wedding at Progressive Field. He invited so many people from the radio station, and I mean tons of people from the radio station. We were left off the list. I was less bothered by it than the host was. He was known to be a little obsessive about things. You know what I mean? If it got in his craw, man, look out. And I mean, we murdered that guy verbally for like 2 weeks over that. Because we felt slighted. I believe the host went as far as to say, bro, if I wasn't as successful as I am, you're not affording that wedding. And that's when it was like, boys, can we see you after the program? There was a little bit of that. But I got to tell you, that is, if somebody got married here, now there's 20 people that work in this building. But if, there was like 600 that worked in that building back then. When, there's way less than that in there now. But if somebody got married here and I wasn't invited, I would absolutely, now I don't want to go. Like, that's the odd thing about me. I don't want to go, but I would view it as disrespect if I wasn't invited. Like, what do you mean I'm not invited? Like I am, like there's no VIP list in this building list. What are you talking about? Me and Keith Kennedy, that's it. You know what I mean? So like I better be invited to this damn wedding. But ironically, don't want to go. You think I want to give up my Saturday to watch, who you're going to divorce in 2 years? No, I'm good on that. Like, I am good on that. A lot of people don't like the idea of spending that much money on the rings or the wedding. The ring, at least, I can sell back. The ring, maybe you could sell yourself on. Maybe it goes up in value down the road. It's a precious metal. It's a scarce resource. Renting out like some VFW hall isn't a scarce resource. Like that's not a thing. And so I'm surprised more people don't get married in their homes. You can go on the internet to become ordained to perform weddings in like 30 minutes. That's how seriously we take this. It's literally just a thing. It's a ceremony. That's it. Like, I don't understand why it needs to be 30 grand. And if I was marrying somebody that needed it to be that much. Now, again, I don't know what it costs to rent a hall these days. I haven't, I used to put on a lot of promotions. I haven't done it in a long time now. We have somebody else that self in the hole financially. Home, babe, we can have parties here every day for the rest of our lives, every weekend. Maybe we put a pool in the one day. I'm stuck in this house with you for the rest of my life. 9 a.m. this morning. I totally understand that, right? But what's been happening is he's been taking money out of the joint account to help pay back for the $8,000 ring he bought. He financed it. And I think most people, I don't know about most, but a lot of people would have to finance an $8,000. If I wanted $8,000 ring today, like for an engagement ring, I could pay cash. I would maybe finance it just for the hell of it, but I could. I think there's probably a lot of you that are in the situation too. And I kind of see both sides of it. I do. I'm a little bit old school, and I've said the way we pronounce old school now is toxic. But I would rather just buy you the ring and give it to you. I want to open doors for you. I want to stand up in the restaurant when you get up to go to the bathroom. I'm just kind of that way. You know what I mean? I'm the kind of guy, dude, if I'm taking public transportation, I'm going to stand up so a woman can sit down. If that's a simp, then fine. I'm a simp, I suppose. We used to pronounce that decent, is how that was pronounced. We're changing the pronunciation of a lot of these words out here, right? I'm just that way. But I could understand, hey, we're in this together. We decided a no sweat they make, but clearly they're sending you the vibe of like, we need to kind of make sure we're not going crazy. So I could see it both ways. I really could. Like, if you're in it with this person and you're a partnership and you're really looking to spend the rest of your life together, what he owes, I hate to break it, is what you owe. Because less money's going into that anyway if he's paying for the thing. Now, she says, I would have never signed off on an $8,000 ring if I knew I was going to have to help pay it back. When you opened the box and showed it to your ass, you didn't say to him, that's too expensive, let's swap it out for something less expensive. It was his money, so it was just right, wasn't it? Interesting. I wouldn't be able to go to bed without thinking about that. My mind obsesses. I have an overactive imagination. I get paid a lot of money to use it. And so when something gets put up there, it just straps on them running shoes and it runs around a lot. You know what I mean? And it doesn't get back out of there. And I'd have a hang up. I'm not saying I'd be right about it. I'm saying I'd have a hang up. We were talking about also how the average wedding costs about $30,000 because, again, this couple said no frills. They were looking to save a little bit of money. And I said, well, there I understand totally. You know, I think weddings, personally, this is just my take, that they should be smaller affairs versus like these big grand things. Now, good luck with Instagram these days, right? And all that. Like, no, it's got to be TikTok worthy, right? And all of that. I'm sure that's part of that these days. And look, things are just getting more expensive by the day. Because Jerry actually wrote in. He found me on my Facebook page, The Stansbury Show. We'll thank him for that. Says, my wife and I got married 2 years ago. When we were looking for venues, the cheapest we could find in the area we were looking at was about $12,000. Now, that did include the food. He goes, but we decided to punt on that, and we got married at Niagara Falls. We spent about $6,000 on everything. Now, see, I feel like you got the better deal, Jer. Because if we're, watch now as I call Niagara Falls a destination wedding, but you did get out of your area. You went and saw something. I don't know if you've both been there before, but let's say you hadn't. Now you've been there. Not only have you been there, but you've been there together. You're starting your life together in a new location. And you saved your, so you got new scenery, a place maybe you have or have not been, I don't know, he didn't tell me, but let's say a place you've never been, and you saved yourself a ton of money. That's 3 cherries in a row on the slot machine of life. Like that to me is like, dude, you nailed it. You knocked it. The real down to is, does she think you nailed it? Now, we don't have to make this about Jerry's marriage, but like, we all know, right? The wedding's kind of about the woman. You never hear groomzilla, right? Like, that's not really a thing. Like, that doesn't happen. It's bridezillas is a thing. For some reason, it's massively important to them. That are just massively important to me, and I don't understand why. It's like, dude, it's just kind of in my DNA. Right? It's just kind of the way it is. But there is something about weddings that make women just kind of go a little nutty. And all day, you just get your little wand and you're the princess all day. That would be powerful, right? I mean, I am literally the center of attention for a living. So, like, I get it. I totally get it. I'm a princess every day, ain't I? Yeah, you bet your ass I am. Absolutely. For sure. So I could get it. But, like, they go a little crazy with this. It's important to them. I got to be honest with you. I would have no problem spending $20,000 on a ring for a woman I love. Now, this was only 8. I'm getting ready to make a point here. I would have no problem spending that kind of money if I loved you. No problem whatsoever. Finance it, do the thing, and everything. If this is what you want, this is what you want. My thing is, I don't want you to wear it anywhere we go. Now I'm worried of when we're walking out of dinner at a place we can afford and we're toxic and awful and the worst people ever because we can't afford the restaurant and nobody else can. Does your hand get chopped off now in the America I live in because you have a $20,000 ring on? Like, that's the thing about that kind of stuff where it's like, where are you wearing it? Like, we